Senator Manchin, you said something like, I said, well, we know the two candidates, and you said you're still working on that. What do you mean by that? And I want to ask Senator Romney that you said, Senator Romney, that there's too many nominees on the Republican side. They got to coalesce around one to sort of be the anti-Trump. Senator Manchin, you go first. What did you mean?
Well, my assumption would be this: the people haven't been able to speak yet. The party, basically the Democrat and Republican Party, might be set on where they're going and who they think's going to be the representative, but the people haven't spoken up yet. If the middle ever would cohese around and basically say we want someone that can take us into the future, fiscal responsibility is one thing, opportunity is another, inflation, all the things that we're fighting, energy security, border security, all of these things here, they're going to have to find basically someone who can bring people together. And if that's not what's happening and what's being produced, then the people will go differently. So we'll see. I think it's too early right now to say what will happen. But the way the party system is set up, it looks like that's the direction they're going.
All right, Senator.
Yeah, in my view,
go ahead, Senator.
Yeah, I've said this from the beginning. I think Donald Trump is the prohibitive favorite. But if there's any opportunity for someone else to become the Republican nominee, the field needs to consolidate. And I thought we could wait until maybe February to do that. I think I'm wrong. I think we have to move more quickly than that. And I think you have to look at the numbers and say who's been rising in the polls, who's doing well in Iowa and New Hampshire, and people who have not been able to break through and move the numbers really ought to step aside and let the person who's risen become the nominee.
Who would that be?
The alternative to Donald Trump.
Who would your favorite be?
I'm going to let other people make that assessment, but I think you can look at the numbers and say, all right, this is a person that's got a shot.
Senator Manchin, if some people think an 86-year-old President Biden with Vice President Kamala Harris waiting in the wings, that's a scenario that they would rather avoid. What about you?
Yeah, well, the bottom line is that, again, the people will speak up. I think you're seeing people speaking out. I think you see the polls, basically, they're challenging right now. The president's done some things that I agree with, and he's done some things I disagree with. That's with any president. But with that, the ability to lead and being in that position and having the confidence of the people is what it's going to take. And that hasn't unraveled yet. I think it will.
Right now, we don't have a competitive
race in the Democratic Party.
Should President Biden, is he too old? I mean, that's what we're all talking about. It's the elephant in the room, Senator Manchin.
Well, the conversations I've had with him have been very lucid. I don't have a problem saying that my conversations have always been good. So what people are seeing and assumptions they're making, they have to make that for themselves. But if they've had personal contact, then make it from that. And that's what it should be.
I'd say it's not the age, it's the record, which is, the rate of inflation has come down. But to the American household, they're looking at the cost of a loaf of bread at $6, and they're saying, my life has not gotten better under Bidenomics. That's the problem the president has. He does not have people's credibility when it comes to the cost of living in this country, and as a result, they want something different. So, unfortunately, President Biden, who is a lovely person, just doesn't have the record to be able to get reelected.
Joe, let me just say this: we have more energy production today than we've ever had in the history of our country. We're producing 4.6 billion barrels of oil. We're producing 37 trillion cubic feet of gas, and we have 13.5 billion cubic feet of LNG going out to the market to help our European partners. We've increased and doubled, basically, our wind and solar capacity and increased our coal capacity. We have done everything possible to have an all of the above energy security, and no one talks about that. We paid down $230 billion with the IRA. No one talks about that. They only talk about environment. Energy security is what we have done and what we're going to continue to do, and we're going to hold their feet to the fire to make sure it happens.
What would you do if you go into the voting booth and it's and those are the two presumptive nominees? What would you? I mean, you don't need to tell me, your personal business, but that'd be a quandary for you, wouldn't it, if it was former President Trump versus President Biden?
It's pretty straightforward. It's the same thing I've done in the past. I'll vote for Ann Romney, who would be a terrific president.
So we could all, I guess we could all do that. We have seen writings.
You can all vote, or Gail Manchin, either one. Exactly. We're okay. We can go either way.
Or Gail Manchin. Come on, Andrew. Give it a shot. Which one? Take your pick. They're both great.
They are.
Take your pick, Andrew.
Look, Senator, no, it's nice to see both of you. You know what we should ask them about?
Go ahead. Yeah.
We should ask them about the IRS.
Yeah. Let's do.
Both senators, we've been having a conversation around this table about funding the IRS, defunding the IRS. What should really happen there? And I'm curious how both of you think about that in the context of fiscal responsibility and to the degree that we need to collect a certain amount of revenue?
Okay, I'll just tell you this. Look, you have to have an IRS. You have to have enough agents to be able to audit people and make sure they're paying their taxes. Anything other than that is nuts. Look, there's a quote by H.L. Mencken that I think applies here. He said, to every complex problem, there's an answer which is simple, clear, and wrong. And the idea that we should not have IRS agents and that's going to somehow help us balance the budget is simply wrong. We have to have enough IRS agents to do the audits, particularly of high-income people, and make sure that high-income people like Joe are paying their taxes.
Thanks. Let me just say this. This came about truly in our infrastructure, on our bipartisan infrastructure, discussions we were having. Rob Portman, our dear friend, we all talked about different things. Rob was there, and we were talking about things. The IRS has not been updated at all. Technology is so far outdated. We're not doing anything there. Agents were dropping off like flies. We're 75,000 people down, and no one really took a look at it. And that's basically the financial arm that gives us the ability to do what we want to do and be the superpower of the world. So we started talking, okay, if we invested in this at $40 billion, what would that do? Then it came up, and then we said, well, we just can't do that right now because everyone said that would cause a problem on the Republican side. So we didn't do it at that time. But it was truly something we all considered. And then when it came out in the other, we knew that it would work. $80 billion, I was a little bit concerned. I thought it was more higher than what we needed. I thought in the $50, $60 billion range is where it would take for us to get the maximum return. But they kept thinking every extra dollar you put into it, you'll get back. I think there's a no return, if you will, a part of time that you put so much money in, a point of no return. And I thought they went over that. So when they first took $20 billion out from the FRA, when the debate between the president and Kevin McCarthy, I was fine with that. But then they wanted to redirect it to something else as far as other spending. It should have been directed to debt reduction. But no one can ever think about that. If there's an extra dollar, we never.
We agree. 80 is too high, but zero makes no sense at all.
No sense at all.